So I want to give you an update on US-Korea relations and what the Korean media and Korean users are saying about the whole Trumpy situation. So first, yes, they did talk about the Time magazine news story where basically Trump was complaining about his hair and complaining about his photo in Time magazine. And it's funny because all you have to do is show his tweets, translate it, and people are like, WTF, what the heck is going on with this guy, right? But this is the reality of American politics. This is President Trump. Here's some comments from Koreans if you guys are curious, and also want to let you know that you're not alone. If you think this whole thing is a clown show, everyone around the world can actually see it. So from Korea, a person says, seriously? At this point, does that mean he has to be seen as a great hero no matter what? And those little symbols is for Korean, like laughing at him, basically. It's like LOL. Another Korean writes, it's dementia. This is a big problem because the whole world has to take blame for this, right? Essentially, how are we letting Trump do this? I mean, we're all together in this. Another person writes, prices in US are going crazy because of your tariffs. So does it really matter whether your hair comes out or not? LOL. Another one writes, Merry Christmas to Grandpa Customs, which is pretty funny. And another person writes, you reap what you sow. You're going bald for free. And again, I like to show you guys this stuff because you're not alone if you're feeling frustration with the Trumpy world. They basically show every day what's going on with the American economy because we're all connected in this stuff. And it is true, when Koreans, make products, they need markets to sell it to. And so you do want to understand what's going on with the Trump stuff. This was actually the recent report, was the Fed's beige book. They just let you know how's the economy doing. And this was the headlines then. U.S. economy has lost momentum over the past 2 months. Fed's beige book finds. And I think there's 12 districts, okay, talking about the USA. And let me read it. And basically, most people are either flat or not doing so great. Reports from across the U.S. indicate sluggish economic conditions across much of the country, with only 3 of the Federal Reserve's 12 district banks reporting expanding activity in their regions. The remaining 9 districts reported either flat or contracting economic activity. So again, it's not good. And I think you guys already know this stuff if you're watching, but it's just good to, hear more data on these things so you know you're not alone. In Korea, they do play what Trump says sometimes. I'll show you.
All signed. Japan, South Korea. South Korea, $350 billion up front. Japan, $650 billion. And they've all agreed to it. They're all happy.
Yeah, I guess everyone's happy to give you a bunch of cash, which no one is giving you anything. But so there's that. I mean, they just show what Trump says, and then, we're just like, what money are you talking about? Here's some more comments from Korea. The United States will never regain its former purchasing power, meaning that, remember, USA's leverage is consumers, right? And, Korea can see it, China can see it. I'm sure you can see it in UK and Europe, Australia, etc. Is that if consumers in USA lose buying power, what leverage does USA have in with its trading partners, right? If they have no money to buy stuff, you can't really force anything. So that's why this is a really good point here. United States will never regain its former purchasing power. Instead of relying on U.S. exports, focus on diversifying your export markets, right? So basically, this is more of a comment more Korea is like, instead of selling stuff to USA, sell stuff lots of places. Even though they're blatantly emptying their own pockets, they can't be impeached. That's referring to Trump. If the far right takes power, the country will be ruined. They are an illogical group. So I always want to make it clear when we go over this stuff is people in Korea, and probably everyone around the world knows this, that there's, a couple of different parties in USA. So Trump's the Republicans, and, obviously then the Democrats will be the other side. So when we're saying like the far right, the country will be ruined. That's according to people in Korea. Another person says, whether his own people are fed, starving or not, the pockets of the Trump administration and its cronies are chock full. If the Americans who created the president can't resolve this themselves, then just suffer. And it's hard to watch this stuff here in Korea when you see what's going on with the Trumpy stuff, because in places like Korea, and I mentioned UK, I think UK is pretty similar, where if like our prime minister, president, et cetera, just goes off the wall, you just remove said person and put someone else in. Like it's just, vote of no confidence kind of thing. Same thing in France, Germany. I think there's actually multiple countries that are like this. And this U.S. is in a strange spot here where, people will blame the Supreme Court or whatever, but that's what I'm saying. From around the world, they're just like, why don't you just remove the guy? That's sort of how people feel. Let's see some more what Trump is saying, and this is what they're showing Korean media.
If you can't come to an agreement or a deal at that meeting, are we in for a sustained trade war with China?
Well, we're in one now. We have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense. It's sort of interesting. I'll be the only president. I don't think any president would stop one war. I stopped 8 wars in 8 months. Did I get a Nobel Prize? No. Can you believe it?
And they have to translate all this stuff, and like, how do you explain this stuff to people? Every time I show my wife this, we're always just laughing. I mean, and I know how it is, guys. I really know. I mean, it's sometimes you want to cry, sometimes you want to laugh, sometimes you're like, I don't know, I feel in between. Today I feel like laughing because it's just like so stupid. What are we stopping 8 wars now? And I guess without tariffs we're nothing. And then it's just like, oh, I'm going to tax my people more. Oh, I'll show you everyone, right? It's crazy. And that's why I want to show you guys, just to know that you're not alone. Everyone around the world can see that basically Trump's, crazy, and his old mega base is, a bunch of morons, and we can all see it. And the question is, it's like, how long is this going to go on? I just think it's unsustainable. I'm waiting for midterms. It's going to happen soon. And that's why I'm sharing these thoughts with you coming in from Korea. And again, you guys are not alone. Here's some more from Korea. I've been printing money and living a life of luxury, and now I feel like I've reached my limit. That's referring to the USA, right? This endless money printing, borrowing, etc. Now you're at the limit. Another person writes, the economic policy of a country led by a fool who has gone bankrupt 7 times is called mega, right? People in Korea can see what's going on. Another one. Trump's claim that tariffs won't be passed on to the consumers was laughable. Now it's clear that protests will overflow due to consumer outcry. And I'm not sure yet on that one. It's interesting. You would think people would connect the tariffs to higher prices and get upset and be protesting this kind of things. We haven't quite seen that yet from the MAGA. I mean, I think they know prices are high. The question is, how long can Trump keep blaming Biden, right? I mean, and that's basically their strategy, right? Blame Biden when in doubt, or blame immigrants, whatever. I think ultimately, though, at the end of the day, it's the economy stupid. I mean, that's the best. And then this was an interesting one. I had to ask my wife on this one because I wasn't quite sure what the Korean meaning was. This is the English translation. You drink seawater because you are thirsty. And my wife said the basic idea of this is sort of when you're desperate, or, you're in a bad spot, then you do even worse situations. So the example would be here, if I'm, really, really thirsty and I need water and I can't find anything, then I drink seawater, which is essentially what Trump's up to, right? Trump is the seawater, I guess, in this example, but essentially you end up hurting yourself when you get really, really desperate. I think that's the best way to describe that scenario. And then here in Korea, they keep showing, essentially everything costs more in USA. It's expensive to go out to eat, et cetera, and this kind of stuff. Listen to more of what they show of Trump, because I just want you to see.
We have a big case coming up in the Supreme Court, and I will tell you, that's one of the most important cases in the history of our country. Because if we don't win that case, we will be a weakened, troubled financial mess for many, many years to come.
I guess we'll be in a mess for many, many years to come, and then they'll show Besson and stuff. But you get the idea. I find it so strange, though, this whole tariff thing, because for us here in Korea, it's kind of obvious who pays the tariffs, and I don't think Trump can hide it much longer. To be frank, it's in the news. Also, it's hitting the economy, the American consumer. This is from the U.S. news. I'll read it. It says, despite weaker job market, labor cost pressures intensified in recent weeks due to outsized increase in employer-sponsored health insurance expenses, right? So things cost more, health insurance here. According to the report, labor supply in the hospitality, agriculture, construction, and manufacturing sectors were strained in several districts due to Trump's administration's immigration policies. And this has always been a big question I have. And will Americans do these jobs, right? Replace the immigrants that Trump is kicking out. So Hospitality, right? Hotels, these kind of things. Agriculture, will Americans go work back in the farms and the fields? Construction, right? Will Americans be roofing houses, these kind of things? Manufacturing. I don't know. I mean, this is what we're all seeing here. And then it also says here, inflation moved higher in September, driven by higher costs for services such as insurance, healthcare, and technology solutions. I think you guys all know this stuff, but again, it's important to just have a basis of a reality, because I know oftentimes what the Trump people are up to is just basically gaslighting you and saying, oh, don't believe your eyes and don't believe your wallet at the grocery store. But you guys know the price of stuff. You can see all these things happening. Here's some more comments from Korea, so I want to let you know that you guys aren't alone. And it's a different perspective than you may get in the USA. This person says, the importer pays the tariff, so of course the importer will raise price of goods to avoid losses. And in the end, it's the people who suffer. Haha, right? It's obvious. It's very difficult for prices to fall once they've gone up. So the US is in big trouble, right? This is what people can see over here. The world's largest gap between rich and poor in the US seems to be getting worse. And that's something I've been warning you guys about for a long time, that essentially USA, if Trump gets his way, the oligarchs will control everything, and then everyone else will be fighting each other like a Squid Game for, fewer jobs. That's basically what it is. And then Trump's whole plan is to replace everyone with robots and AI ultimately. Another person says here, make America fit again, lose weight now. So basically saying, since stuff is so expensive in USA, now's your time to diet, basically. A couple people wrote that, actually. Here's another one. Trump is completely destroying America. How can he bring down prices once they've gone up? Instead of calling for, quote, make America great again, we should be calling for consumer prices great again, or inflation great again. Another person writes, you said we don't have to worry about inflation. Trump and his gang are just cowards. Another one, the hallmark of F-level politicians and bureaucrats, they start a fight and can't fix it. Americans try dieting too, right? Looks like you have to consume less. Americans don't save, so when prices skyrocket, they're forced to tighten their belts. And this is actually just a major problem in the USA. Oftentimes, right, when the prices are going up at the moment, Americans will essentially, because they're basically treading water. This is just how the economics work. And there's very little support from the U.S. government. It's just how the system is, and it's kind of, how can I say, democracy, or just the U.S. system, capitalism, we want to call it that, is based on winners and losers. Basically, in a market, some people win, some people lose, and if you lose, it's your fault. That's how the Americans want you to think. And the problem is, though, is the game is rigged, and it's rigged to favor the wealthy. And if you try to move up in the system, they'll figure out ways to keep you down. And it's frustrating to talk about this stuff because some Americans are still sort of in that mindset that it's a fair playing field, but I'm just telling you, it's not. As you can see with the way the Trump administration, and it's all based on bribes and kickbacks and stuff like that. And it's basically, cronyism. That's the easiest way to describe it. And you get into really complicated things of, how our system is made. But, at first you just have to, get into reality, and we're like, hey, prices are up, right? And that's the most basic reality. And then as we go through the news every day, just tell you like how much up, what's going on with various sectors. And then you get into opinions of like, how can we fix that system? But we got to get past the step one right now, because the Trump people keep acting like we're all winning all the time. That's why when you show all the stuff he's saying, is like what world does this guy live in, where he's saying like, oh, tariffs are making us so awesome. If we don't have them, we're weak. And then you get these sort of headlines. This is from the American news here. Tariffs are pushing prices higher and consumers are feeling the hit, right? It's nothing shocking here, but just got to reiterate the reality of the situation. And here's a quote. Prices rose further during the reporting period. Tariff-induced input cost increases were reported across many districts, but the extent of those higher costs passing through to final prices varied, right? So depends. Fully passing, and then however, some businesses said they were fully passing import costs along to their customers. Of course they were. And then you got this, which is, again, part of Trump's economy. Tariffs on everything, tax people, right? Give benefits to the wealthy, and then promote cryptos and AI and stuff like that. And you get these weird things going on with PayPal. PayPal crypto partner mints a whopping $300 trillion worth of stablecoins in technical error. So you're going to have all of this crazy crypto money just, appear out of thin air, or whatever pump and dumps Ponzi they're going to do. And this stuff will be unregulated. So I want to always warn you about all the stuff going on, give you a different perspective than you may otherwise hear. I do appreciate your time. I want to hear your thoughts on this stuff. And thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.